Hi folks, my name is Roger Klosterman and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a composer, a guitarist, a guitar teacher, and a musical performer. I have written over 50 tunes, I've produced over 2 CDs, and my music's been heard on 6 continents and over 35 countries. I've been playing the guitar for over 50 years and I have clocked in over 40,000 hours of guitar practice and the study of music theory. The proof is in the pudding. If you so desire, you can listen to some of my tunes that are on this channel. People have asked the question that are interested in learning to play the guitar. Will I be able to learn to play the guitar? The answer to that is yes. The other question that is often asked in tandem with that is, how long will it take me to learn to play the guitar? Well, that depends on what level you want to obtain, and it also depends on the psychological aspect of your character, which is often left out of the conversation, and this is rhetorical. What kind of personality and character do you have? Are you a person who is into instant gratification? If so, I would say forget it, let it go, move on. It ain't going to happen. That being said, if you have some stick-to-itiveness and can deal with a pretty fair amount of postponement and frustration, you have a chance to learn the guitar. I'm going to discuss the 4 levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and master. It's not mysterious here. Those levels are used in any subject and endeavor, any field that is worth pursuing in this world. It's a spectrum, and there are different rates at which people learn. So just want to be clear on all those things. The first level, beginner. You've never put your hand on the guitar. And I want to state before I get into beginner and the rest of the levels, the criteria I'm going to be using is 2 or 3 hours a day of studying. Let me repeat that. 2 or 3 hours a day of studying. If you study 3 hours a day, that's about 1,000 hours a year. 2 hours a day, that's about 700 or 800 hours in a year. Okay, let's get started. If you want to, say, play 6 very simple songs around the campfire when you go camping, 3 chord songs, 4 chords at the most, simple strumming. And I emphasize simple strumming because some strumming songs can have very complex strumming patterns. So nuts and bolts, simple. If you practice 2 or 3 hours a day, there's a good chance that you can learn a few songs, maybe a half a dozen songs in 6 months. Can't emphasize enough, nuts and bolts, simplicity. And I want to re-emphasize it's a spectrum. So let's say you're at the middle of beginner. You've are towards the end of beginner and at the beginning of intermediate. You might know some songs that have more than 3 or 4 chords in them and be able to do some slightly more challenging patterns. Like I said, it's somewhat subjective. Those 4 goalposts, beginning, intermediate, advanced, and master, they're anchored, but they kind of move around a little bit because everybody has a slightly varying interpretation. It's not magical. Let's just say 20 people saw a car accident. there'd be 20 different takes on it. There'd probably be more similarities than dissimilarities. Everybody saw an accident, but there'd be some differences. So it's not uh, mystical. Intermediate. Again, 2 or 3 hours a day. At intermediate level, you might know 20 chords, which is just a smidge and a drop in the bucket when it comes to music and the guitar. You should know what major, minor, and dominant chords are. Those are the foundations of music, not only guitar, but of music. But this isn't a memory game and regurgitation. You could mimic and memorize chords all day long. People do that all the time in life. But music is about hearing. So you name the chords, and it's about hearing what they sound like. And there's endless inflections in every guitar. It's just like every human voice sounds a little bit different. Everybody can sing the same song, and there's going to be differences that are distinguishable in people's tone and pitch in their voice. A little bit more on intermediate. You may, towards the middle of intermediate and towards the end, you might be able to play some notes as you're in between the chords, or pick out the melody in the chords a little bit more. And you'll be learning maybe some modes, maybe major and the minor mode, maybe a blues mode. At the advanced level, here you would definitely understand major, minor, and dominant, and you know numerous different voicings of those chords, and you would know what that word means, voicing. By then, you would know that. And you would know suspended seconds, suspended fourth, flatted fifths, sixth chords, sevens, nines, 11s, 13s, octaves, diminished, augmented. If you're advanced, in my opinion, you should know all of that right there. You would know how to play lead. You would be able to improvise. And backs up a little bit, if you were at the end of the intermediate level, you would know some of that too. It's not like black and white and then all of a sudden, boom, you're an advanced student. Let's think on spectrum. An advanced student and maybe an end of the intermediate student, you might be able to play in a band, doing some basic stuff. If you're an advanced student, especially in the middle of the road, advanced student, you'd be able to play in a pretty decent band. You should be able to. And you might even, towards the end of advanced student, you might even be able to play out on your own, doing solo. You would know what modes are. If you were an advanced student, you would understand what modes are. And nobody's going to know them all. There's too many. Don't let anybody tell you any difference. And you would you would be able to play in many different keys too, many different keys, and you would understand what that meant and knew what it sounds like. And the same with the modes. You know what they sound like. You would be able to, I think I may have already played lead, improvise, and you would have a really good understanding of the mechanics of music and how chords are structured, and you might even be able to be at the songwriting level to where you could construct songs. All right. If you were practicing 2 or 3 hours a day to get to that level, I would say 4, 5, or 6 years at 2 or 3 hours a day. That's about 6,000 hours if it took 6 years. And I think I left out the intermediate. If you were practicing 2 or 3 hours a day to get at the intermediate level, I'm guessing 2, 3, 4 years. So there's some overlap there. And someone might say, well, hey, I knew somebody that, was a master guitar and they only practiced for 5 years. those people are the exception to the rule, and they're not common. It's not common. Most people who get at the advanced level to the master level have paid their dues. The master level, you would know numerous modes, how to play numerous modes. You could play in many different genres. You can improvise like that. You understand music forward, backward, up, down, and in and out. You understand the terminology in music. You're able to communicate very clearly and succinctly what you're doing. You can probably write music and compose your own songs at that level. You know how to construct things. You understand the mechanics and just have a overall, well, it's a master. If you're studying 2 or 3 hours a day, I'm going to say about 7, 8, 9, 10 years at the least. Really, it's some people. Well, it's used in universities. Usually, if you got about 10,000 hours, I don't know how many credit or blah 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 that is, but got 10,000 hours of studying a particular field in the universities, you usually get a master's degree right around there. So this stuff isn't mystical. I think the guitar and music is somewhat of a different animal, especially studying guitar. I mean, let's be honest. There's people who study music and are the guitar their whole life and do not get it. And this is 2 or 3 hours a day. You can bump it up to 4, 5, 6 hours a day and maybe reduce that that time a little bit. But put that in perspective now. Think for a minute. If you don't practice for 2 or 3 weeks, you only play an hour, I'm repeating myself, but you miss a week, you miss 2 weeks. You're talking 15, 20, maybe never. So those are my thoughts on, can you learn the guitar? Yes. How long will it take? Well, you just heard the information. Anyway, if you enjoy my music, if you're interested in taking up some guitar lessons, I'm more than fully capable of showing you how to learn the guitar, and I specialize in songwriting. We can connect on Skype or Zoom. If you're interested, subscribe, and thanks for dropping by. Wellness, wholeness, and harmony vibration. Stay in tune. End of transmission. Over and out.